question. Why? First, why do you think ghosts are real?
Well, I personally, by religion, I'm, I believe in Jesus and stuff. Uh, but I think when we die, I believe in like Jesus. I'm Baptist, but you know the theory between heaven and earth, or heaven and hell, and earth. I think it's called God, I can't remember what it's called.
Well, what are we talking about? Rapture? Are we talking about Gabriel falling from the heavens, or like what? What denomination are you? Sorry.
Purgatory. Do you know what purgatory is?
Oh, purgatory. Okay, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, the place between heaven and hell.
Okay.
So basically, people stuck between heaven and hell, and they roam the earth. Like say a woman was murdered, she has to figure out like why she was murdered and stuff. I don't know. I just think it could happen.
They're not against Christian teaching. You're talking about, okay, the thing is purgatory isn't actually a Christian construction though.
I know.
It's in Dante's, and from Inferno, and then Purgatory, and then Paradise. I mean, but it's not actually. It was adapted into Catholic teaching.
Yeah.
But it's not actually in any of the holy books.
I grew up Catholic.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. I mean, I'll be straight with you. I personally don't believe in any higher power.
Right.
It just, I actually grew up Presbyterian and was Methodist for a little while, and I just kind of fell off after I heard some kind of bigoted remarks by my pastor, and I did more research into it. I mean, I guess let's take it at face value. Why aren't you a Muslim or a Hindu or any, like, why do you believe in God in the first place?
So I was atheist for I grew up Catholic, 8, then I became atheist. So I was 14, and then I started going to church again. And I'm really big into science, Big Bang Theory.
Yeah, sure.
And basically, I don't I've researched a ton about it. I used to love the theory, and nothing can come from, or something can't come from nothing. And everywhere I look, it comes back to God. Every point that science makes, it goes back to God.
Interesting. Okay. A lot there. There's a whole lot between a deistic view, which is there may be a first cause, than a theist view, which is that there is a God. He cares about you. He answers prayers.
Right.
He cares who wins the war, who you have sex with, in what position, what days you do not eat fish.
Yeah.
How many inches you should take off your dick or clitoris, depending.
Yeah.
If you jerk off or not. I mean, there's a large difference between, say, the blind watchmaker and this idea of a God like this. Why do you see God in everything?
Well, what theory do you believe in how the Earth came to be?
Well, I would say that, you said the Big Bang Theory, which a lot of people know it as now, that was actually an insult back in the day. I forget which scientist it was. He said, "What do you mean the entire universe went together in a big bang and now we're here?" That's actually where it came from, and it just caught on. But no, it has more evidence for it than any other conclusion we have. There's more evidence to suggest a different beginning. I would like to see it. As of yet, there's none for it. To say that we should just, the question's decided, and that Bronze Age Palestine Jews knew the answers to all this, I think is selling it a bit short.
Right.
They didn't know about the germ theory. They didn't have any science. Still thought the Earth was flat and all this good stuff. I mean, so to say that they already knew back in the day. And the weird part is it all happens in like one district of Israel, where all this stuff happens, and the angels only speak Arabic apparently. But it's funny when Christian missionaries actually finally went to China, an older civilization who had, um, you know, Confucianism, Hinduism.
Right.
Um, he went before the Chinese shogun and said, here is the word of the gods. You need to follow this. And he says, if what you say is true, why has it taken so long to reach the empire of China? I mean, where is this coming? Like, why didn't he share this with me? Why hasn't he given me any evidence of this? I mean, I'd like to see, like, why do you think that God is in everything?
Back in the why God is in everything, or the question about China? Because with the question of China, when man came together to build the Tower of Babylon to reach the heavens, he separated all of them, create different races and religions, and basically, create everybody different. And we'll all come back together again one day. You're punished, you're separated, but we'll all come back together again one day, which is, like Christianity spread and is still spreading today.
Because of the intrinsic truth of the word? Is that what you're saying? Because it's so intrinsically true, people follow in because like it's so real.
Yeah, like everything in the Bible's like perfect. Like I know they say there's some like follows where it says like you can't eat shrimp, but that's kind of like a so thing, like people believe that like it's a crustacean. You're not supposed to feed off bottom feeders, but that's more of like a guideline, you know what I mean?
It's more of a guideline.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not everything is like of course you don't following everything in the Bible's a choice, but it's like if you follow everything, you will be like perfect.
Okay, so we should stone gay people or burn witches.
It doesn't say stone.
Yes, it does in Leviticus and Numbers.
Look it up. It says, "Thou shalt not sleep with a man, lay with a man."
Exactly. Thou shalt not lay with a man; he shall be put to death by stoning. When we talk about the Ten Commandments, say, and he lumps in the things that we shouldn't covet. We should say,
but God hates the sin, not the sinner.
So, oh, come on. Yeah. Have you heard pastors talk about gay people? Have you heard all that stuff? I don't think that's a respectable position.
No man speaks for God. No man speaks for God.
No, the Catholic Church does. In what it teaches. That's why I'm not Catholic. When people say the church, they know what you're talking about, the one in Rome. Now we can talk about the things that different sects do specifically, but you can't really discount the things that we attribute to Christians, which is what? The Crusades, the Inquisition, the burning at the stake of Galileo, who was tortured by the Catholic Church. Thomas More, who was actually just a saint, made a patron saint of politicians, actually tortured people for reading the Bible in English.
Right.
This was in English.
With all those things you just said,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But God doesn't care about the church that he created. No. That he would let him do all this.
He cares. But all those things you just said are appointed by what people believe, not by what God, they think that's what is needed to be done, but that's not what needs to be done. If anyone has read the full Bible, it preaches love and love thy neighbor. And, of course, the older, like the Old Testament, is a little bit harsher on things, but the New Testament with Jesus
Let
talks
me.
about love.
You're absolutely right. If we wanted to talk Old Testament, we'd be talking about the genocide of the Amalekites, the Midianites,
Yeah,
the Balaites. They're not there anymore because they were wiped out, actually, by those tribes apparently, and that only the women of marrying age should be spared for reasons we don't know yet. Who knows
right.
what they were spared for? But okay, let's use the New Testament then. Let's take no thought for the morrow. Let's not have thrift. Let's say no. Drop everything. Follow God. This was also being said to people that thought the world was ending in their lifetime.
Yeah,
Okay, Revelation that was supposed to be done already, and it hasn't happened yet
right.
for some reason.
I
Uh,
I actually
you
personally
know,
think the world is gonna end in like 100 years or so. Like we are reaching our end times.
the Earth's going to end in a couple billion years when we either choke ourselves to death on our own pollution or we destroy the environment through nuclear war or something like that. I mean,
Right.
there is no rapture. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, like I'd just say all those are possibilities. Like they're all possibilities. You know, the rapture may not happen. It may nuclear war may happen. It may not.
It's
Possibility.
possible. I mean, but when we talk about possibilities, when we and religion, you've got to look at three different options. In my opinion, you look at either one, all gods are true. Okay,
Right.
talk about probabilities, which can't be the case because
Right
religions,
on.
I mean, conflict with
Also
each other.
different.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so many ways. Can't be true. So that leaves none of them can be true,
Right
which
on.
I think is probably the most likely, or only one of them is true.
Right.
Now, that's a how put it this way. There are over 3,000 religions that we know of.
Right.
What are the odds that what you're talking about is true compared to everybody else that thought they were right before? We think, the Greeks are idiots because they believed in Zeus and Ares, and
Right.
of course, that's ridiculous. And the fact that they lived on top of a very climbable mountain, nobody wanted to check it out. Like, what? Come on, are you serious?
Yeah.
You know,
Gotcha.
we think they're ridiculous, but we've got things like the Iliad, and the Odyssey, and how much those gods really played into that narrative. So what are the odds? Why don't you believe in Thor or Allah or Lord Krishna or the Buddha or why? And I'm not saying that all of them are you
I
know
I I didn't believe like anything at the time. I didn't think any of that was possible. But I didn't think like a god, like a perfect god. That's like impossible. But then the other way that I would turn back, and the other part of me where it's like we all just came from nothing and we were just one likely chance that we all became a human civilization and evolved from creatures is very unlikely too. They're both very unlikely.
yeah. Well, one of those explanations has evidence to back it up,
Right,
and the other doesn't.
right,
Um, that said, I mean, hey, I'm what you'd have to believe essentially, if you take Christian teaching at its core, is that um, you know the Bible, people say that it's the Earth is 6,000 years old. I'm sure you don't believe that, but some
right.
fundamentalists do.
Definitely not. I don't believe that.
Yeah. Okay. So Earth is 4.56 billion years old. About a lot of people differ on this. Dr. Francis Collins, who actually started the Human Genome Project, thinks that Homo sapiens as a species have been on Earth about 150,000 years. Richard Dawkins thinks about 250,000 years. So, I'm going to take a low figure here. Let's go 100,000 years. 100,000 years, Homo sapiens have been on this planet. We've been evolving. Okay. That means for 98,000 of those years, God did nothing while we died in mass quantities. Usually, in the ages of mid-20s, usually, sometimes, or, a lot of times of the teeth, because we didn't have dentistry, in wars, the mass carnage, we didn't know what, volcanoes were, earthquakes, child sacrifice, all of this
that all goes back to free will.
Okay. It's an ironic question that I love it when people say that, we've got free will because the boss says so.
Right.
Whatever. The boss says so. Of course not. We have free will because we have no choice but to have it. And yeah, I mean, what? I'll give him 4,000 years then. Yeah, 96,000 years he did nothing.
What I believe is on the seventh day after God created, he created the heavens and he created the earth and the waters and the animals. And the seventh day he took a rest. We don't know how long he took a rest, but he took a rest. So it could be thousands, could be millions. He could have rested for a long time while Earth took its placing and creating and forming and all kinds of different things. Because I think God is the best scientist. He, of course, didn't just nothing. He just didn't know that. He created it and formed it.
There is a star dying out in this universe every second.
Yeah.
A star exploding into nothingness. I mean, really, they're one and the same. Kelly in most situations.
Right.
Some usually, yeah. I'm just saying. All this mass annihilation, all the species that have died out, all the 98% of all species, 99 some people say, of all species have died out.
Right.
So that makes him either very tinkering, likes to kind of playful, toying around with his creation.
Yeah.
It makes him very incompetent.
Right.
Or it makes him very, very cruel.
Right.
To have us born into a painful struggle. Why are there little worms that all they do is burrow in the back of people's eyes?
Yeah.
And that's what they do.
Yeah.
Why would you have that?
Right.
That doesn't make any sense. So, I mean, if we have to, look at his plan so far, how it's worked out, I'm a little concerned because I don't think he really cares about us. It's a lottery. And if we kill ourselves off, don't worry, we're not coming back.
Right.
So,
got you.
But what evidence? And there's, again, we look at, proof. Look up, anything on Richard Dawkins, a lot of some of these evolutionary biologists, and you'll see it's a very interesting process. We're not perfect, Yeah. We still have appendixes in our bodies that we don't need from our days of roaming the savannah in Africa. We still have wisdom teeth that we've got to take out. Our frontal lobes are too small. Adrenal glands a little too high. Obviously, we don't have the sexual, parts that we want. So, it's a whole lot of stuff that's wrong. Yeah. To say everything's perfect is, it's a tough position to defend.
Yeah.
Why is there AIDS? Did God do it? No. Come
No.
on. That's disgraceful to say, and that's a trash question,
Right.
frankly. Again, of course he didn't. But under your view, it would make sense. And that's why I'm, what do you say to that?
That was pretty solid.
Say that one more time.
Solid. Yeah, I think it definitely all comes back to faith, and there's things that I'm sure we as people don't understand, like why, but it all just comes back to faith, and so everybody's gonna have a different view and opinion, and just figure out this life journey on our own, our own way. I got you.
Yeah. No, yeah. I mean, I feel you on that, and that's definitely the track that should be taken. You've got to not be afraid to go out and do whatever the fuck you want to do to conquer in life.
Like that's like a big thing with me. Like I go to church like every day, like not every day of my life, but I read the Bible, and I go to church Wednesdays and Sundays, but I smoke like a shit ton of weed. So, and everybody at that church is like, how do you believe in the Bible and do that? Just there's nothing against it, It's nothing says in the Bible that's wrong, and it doesn't hurt me in any way,
You're right, and I really, I don't take any quarrel with anybody, like you. I'm right there with you, dude. Like I believe in religious pluralism. This nation needs a vast amount of different religious views to shape a conversation of morality in this country.
Right.
I unfortunately also have to deal with though the amount of people that die upholding those beliefs.
Right.
You're not Islamic, but yet we've got that issue. This religion does, in my view, I'm not even, I guess some people would say I'm an anti-theist in that I don't believe that, I obviously don't believe it's true, but I don't believe it would be a good thing if it was true.
Right.
I don't think that people should be held to account for what comes out of their head 24/7. Everybody has those, guilty thoughts, and you're like, oh, I shouldn't have said that. Yeah, or I shouldn't have. That was a terrible thing to think.
Right.
I'm not gonna feel guilty about that though. I'm gonna say, okay, what was behind it. It's it might have been a funny little, stereotypical joke. Who knows? But to say that that's wrong, to do anything like that, I think that is completely wrong.
Right. Like how you shouldn't judge others on what they believe. Like, got you. All right. It was good talking to you again.
Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely.
Solid points. Love it. That was awesome. All right.
And hey, I would also say read other religious sects. I'm a big fan of the Bhagavad Gita, and look at the Tao Te Ching. It's like in prose like form, but it's very, very intriguing, and it might add a little bit to the discussion. So yeah.
That's it.
Take it easy.
All right. See ya.